So tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai to this session about Neave. Ko tēnei tāku mihi ki ngā mana whenua o te rohi nei ko ngā tuahuriri. Ka mihi hoki au ki ngā tohu o te rohi nei. So that's just a greeting, nod of respect, acknowledgement to the local mana whenua here in Christchurch, which is ngā tuahuriri, and also to the important landmarks of this region. Puluvinaka, talofa lava, maloa lele, and warm Pacific greetings. My name's Nell, my pronouns are she and her. I'm a career consultant with the UC Careers team who have organised all of these events with a lot of support from the UC events team. So we're really happy to have everyone along today. At UC Careers, we can help you with everything career related, from figuring out what your dream job might be, right through to helping you secure employment, both while you're studying and when you've finished your degree. So feel free to come along and see us anytime. So we've got 40 minutes today to hear all about Neave. And then we'll have 10 minutes for questions at the end, but please feel free to just pop your questions into the chat as they come up, and we can address those at the end of the presentation. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Mark, Sophie and Lisa at Neave today. I'll throw it over to you guys.
Thank you very much. And yeah, we're really happy to be here today and able to talk with people about the opportunity of coming and spending a summer here at our law firm. So my name's Mark Lewis. I'm the People and Capability Manager here at Neave. I don't have a background in the law sector prior to working at Neave, but my wife is a lawyer, so I've kind of been in and around the legal industry in different ways since my university days, which were also from UC. Yeah, to my left, or I guess maybe you're right on the screen, as I've got Sophie Denon, who's our Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist, who's leading our recruitment for summer clerks. In essence, it's our main graduate recruitment drive. We don't take too many graduates beyond our summer clerk program because we really want people to have a good feeling of the firm and have spent some time here to make sure it's the right place for them, as much as we are really excited about their talent coming and joining our team. And then to our right, we have Lisa, who's also ex-UC alumni, along with Sophie, and she's one of the solicitors in our team. And so I'm kind of conscious that, while you get a really great grounding at university in the law, I guess life in a law firm is a little bit different. And so Lisa can talk a little bit about, well, if you were successful with a summer clerkship here, what a grad role might be, and then what might your first few years as a junior solicitor look like in a law firm, and in particular, what that might look like here at Neave. And I would really like to think it might be a bit different to some other law firms out there. We're certainly not another law firm. We've got a pretty strong culture and some things that really define us, and we're kind of pretty optimistic that those are the kind of things that that people currently looking for their first role would find really appealing. Yeah, so we've got a bit of a presentation to walk through. Sorry, I haven't checked in to see if the live chat is happening, but Sophie will keep a bit of an eye on that if people have some questions as we go along. But we've certainly got questions at the end. We will unlikely need to talk for the full 40 minutes, but yeah, certainly if we don't get a chance to answer the questions on the live chat as it's going, I will pick those up at the end or have a chance for you to ask some more. And very much, ask anything that you might like. We've certainly got nothing to hide, and we want to make sure that people would go into a summer clerk role at Neave being really confident about the experience that they should be able to expect. So yeah, we'll jump into our presentation. Yeah, so I guess the key thing that's kind of going to be the focus for our presentation, actually what your expectations might be of a law firm or a summer clerkship, and what the reality is when you come to Neave. And I mean, I can't speak for other law firms. There are a number of really good summer clerk programs out there. We think ours is pretty special, and I'll kind of highlight some of the things that we think we do really well, which will give you a really good grounding off the back of your university education to be successful in your career hopefully with us, but potentially wherever you may choose, whether that be in-house in the public sector or in the private sector. So yeah, if you don't know Neave, hopefully if you're at UC, unless you're from out of town, you'll be pretty familiar with Neave. We are a full service law firm. So what that means is we basically do everything. Sometimes our clients come to us because they're doing a residential transaction to start with, but in essence we can service all of their needs. It may be that they first get introduced to us because they needed to go through some dispute resolution or something else, or they're working alongside Lisa in the corporate team because they're looking at doing a business deal or a business transaction around that stuff. So yeah, we have the full suite of specialties. And while we don't have the same footprint for each across all 4 of our locations, we are a national firm with the kind of, the centre being Christchurch, because that's where the firm originated from about 150 years ago. But we have a strong presence in Auckland, and we have a growing Wellington office, and we have a really established practice in Queenstown as well. So a full service national law firm. We've been around for a long time. We're intending to be around for a lot longer, and we've got really big ambitions in terms of the size of the firm and where we want to get to. So yeah, just to touch on some of those practice areas. I don't know if it can't really inform your papers for this year, of course, because you would have already had those locked and loaded. But also, don't feel like your papers constrain what your career might look like in the future. We have people who come to us and they end up spending some time with, say, our immigration team, and they haven't done any papers in that area. But in essence, the papers give you the foundation of the process of the law, and we will certainly help you with getting into the details of what it might mean in a specific area. And we have precedents, and we have articles and ways of doing things to really help with that. And of course, you're working alongside solicitors who are doing this every day and really know what it's like to start out and to figure things out. But yeah, our immigration team is fair to say one of the leading immigration teams, if not the leading immigration team in New Zealand. You can imagine the last couple of years has been pretty interesting. Not just being a large immigration practice, because of our expertise, we also actually inform the government around some of the policy and other things. So, it's been an interesting time with border closures and other things around that. So, Mark Williams and Rachel Mason, our 2 partners here, have not just been supporting people with immigration matters, but have also been supporting the government with policy settings in and around that, about keeping the country safe and well, but also making sure that we can get people into the country when we need to. We've got a strong life law practice, which covers a number of the areas of kind of more day-to-day activities that you might need to do in terms of wills and trusts and residential property. As you kind of probably picked up in the news as well, residential property's been on the up and up. So there's been a lot of transactions in that space, and it's been a really busy team. But there is also a variety of work in that space. It's not just in the property space. Our litigation team, they do the full range of litigation. They've been spending a lot of time with chickens lately. So they've been working on a really big case around some chicken farming and working with Tegel around that, which has taken a lot of their time. But they do a variety of work. People from Christchurch will be aware of the fires on the Port Hills, and we worked with one of the insurers on that litigation in terms of who was going to pay for some of the costs of that, linked to the Venture Park and the chairlift. And also do a number of other areas of work in that space. And we have a really strong resource management team. The partner, Josh, is based down in Queenstown. And so we do a lot of work with councils around the country, but it is very much a national practice, with also having solicitors actually in Christchurch, in Wellington, and Auckland. So we've got a really good footprint in that resource management space. Working both to help release land up for development in a way that's sustainable, as well as also protecting the environment around other kind of commercial practices that might not be quite so fitting. And then, yeah, so our commercial property team. I don't know if we've got the largest commercial property team in the country, but we'll be getting pretty close. They're certainly a growing area. And we've got some really big projects on. We've actually recently recruited a solicitor into Wellington to support the Shelley Bay development. And in essence, that'll make their career. That's a 3 to 4 year program through there, and so it's really great to be involved with that right from the start and through to that development being finished. I won't talk too much about commercial and corporate because Lisa will tell you a little bit about her experiences. But while we have a general corporate team, we also have some really deep specialties, and we've got a specialty in the technology space. Graham is our partner in that area, also in finance with Evelyn based up in Auckland. And then Anna Ryan is very well respected in the intellectual property area. So, you know, as well as having a general team, we also have some really key specialists in that area. And in terms of building and construction, we do the full suite, right from setting up the contracts, doing the work around what those might look like, and you know, some of those big projects in Christchurch. You know, we've been involved with the establishing those and working with the council and Sarah around what those might look like and how to get those work. And then if things don't go so well around that, or there's with some joint ventures, if there's some disputes between the parties around who's responsible for what, who gets paid for it, we also you know, work specifically in the litigation area of building construction alongside the support from the litigation team, which is you know, very similar to our areas of employment. And once again, we've got a very strong employment team here in Neave, led by Andrew Shaw and Fiona McMillan. So Andrew's based here in Christchurch and Fiona's up in Auckland. And we've just recently had a new partner join the team in Wellington. So once again, we've got a real national presence in that space. And they do all elements of employment law, and any dispute stuff either is actually done within the team, or once again, they kind of can rely on the litigation team for some help in those areas. So I guess those are the 8 big buckets that the firm has specialisation in, and you may find when you're looking at other firms, they look a bit different, or they might be named a little bit different. But yeah, in essence, we do everything. You know, hence the full service law firm. And like I mentioned at the start, I think that we kind of hold a slightly different position compared to some other law firms, and some of it's around this, which in essence guides our culture. So yeah, if you see the lady offices here in Christchurch or anywhere else, you'll see the diamond symbol on the outside, and that covers a lot of things. But in essence, often, you know, clients will come to us either around a dispute or an opportunity, and it feels really complex for them, or they don't know how to navigate that well. Or alternatively, they might not see the complexities in it, or they may need advice from more than one area to get that resolved. So in essence, coming in from the left there in terms of complexity, the left-hand side of the diamond represents that. And it also represents that we can not just provide them corporate advice, but we can also draw on other areas of the firm if we need to make sure that we give them the right advice. And then the key one for us is making sure that we then deliver that back to the client in a real simple, plain English, what you need kind of way. So taking that complexity away from them and ensuring we provide that great customer service. And so what does that look like as a law firm? Well, one thing is that we take our social responsibility really importantly, and you'll see if you go to our careers sites, you know, what we're doing in the corporate social responsibility space, and we've got a real focus around that. What we also have, and what we offer our clients, being a full service national firm, is large firm capability. While we're, you know, in the top 10 firms, we're not certainly in terms of size, not in the top 5 firms, but we strongly believe that we've got the capability of those large firms. But what we want to make sure for our clients is that we provide them with really good value for their service, and so we want to make sure that the costs for our clients are more like a mid-sized firm, you know. So while we have nice offices, we don't have the flashiest offices. While we, you know, pay our staff well, you know, we make sure we balance that with what we charge our staff out for and other expectations. So while we have the capacity of a large firm, we try to operate in terms of value as a mid-sized firm. But the most important thing to us is that in terms of the feel of the firm, and this is for our clients, but also for the people that join us, that we have the feel of a boutique firm, so a small firm. So that we're friendly and approachable. Everyone has good relationships inside of work as well as having relationships outside of work. We have a lot of social activities to make sure that, you know, we get, when we can, it's a little tricky at the moment, mixing between the offices and between the teams, and that we're not stuffy at all. And so the ways that you see that is, you know, we're an open plan environment and the partners don't have their own offices. I've had previous people who are coming into our summer clerk process and are in interviews and going, oh, I get to talk to the partner. Oh, when I went to the other law firm, the partners were kind of over there and we didn't talk to them at all. And so, you know, we very much believe in dealing with everyone with respect and as a human being, and it's irrespective of what your role might be in the firm, because everyone adds value, and we want to have a good relationship with everybody. So that's a little bit about us, and it's kind of symbolised by that diamond insignia that you'll see. Yeah, and so specifically in terms of our summer clerkship program, that is a 10-week program. So it sits either side of Christmas, based on the university year, and you know, it kicks off kind of that mid-February time and runs through to mid-November and runs through to mid-February, with a break in the middle. The firm does close down, but certainly we're kind of conscious that you can't have garnered enough leave over the 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks that you spent with us before that. But certainly we make sure we pay you through the office close down period, and then we have another stint when you get back. And one of the things I think differentiates our program is that you actually get to work alongside partners and alongside senior staff. So it's not a matter of just getting engagement with some of the junior solicitors, although that's also fantastic, and I'd love to, you know, have the opportunity to spend some time hanging out with Lisa and her pod, and Lucian and David, who are also in that pod, and it would be, I know Sophie Jackson, who was a summer clerk last year and just started with us this week as a graduate. She's really enjoying the collegiality of her peers, but we want to also make sure that you get exposed to people with that kind of deep subject matter expertise who can provide the kind of level of guidance that all people starting out in their career need. And the other thing that we really believe in is making sure we give you real work, and that you actually get time with real clients. I think Michael Green, who some of you may have met on the UC campus, was with us. He was almost really surprised in his first week with the employment team that he was, you know, sitting in client meetings, seeing how that all works. But it's the only way that you can get a really good feel for things. You know, I guess that's really important to us. Is the best that we can do is that we get you doing real work, so you get a really good feel for things. And it's not that we have our summer clerks working on some fictitious project or some fictitious problem and then presenting it back to people and nothing's happening about that. You know, we strongly believe that getting involved with that stuff, and like I mentioned, the social aspects of the firm are really important to us. And so one thing for us is if you are offered a summer clerkship, and I mean that happens in May, you know, it's not that far away, and it's certainly a long time before November, is that basically as soon as you accept that offer, you're part of our whānau, and you're part of the firm. And so, you know, we have a mid-year get together where the whole firm gets together, and so, you know, it's a great time, and we invite our summer clerks along to that. It's a great time for them to meet everyone prior to starting with us in November. And certainly in Christchurch here, we've had a social rowing team that's been doing the corporate rowing challenge, and we've had a couple of summer clerks come in and join in with that team at the start of summer. So yeah, those things are important, and sometimes it's just a little get-togethers. So we've had morning tea here in our offices. with the current kind of climate and situation going on, we've done that just on different floors, which is a bit of a shame because I didn't get a chance to catch up people on level 5 and level 4, but we're just doing our bit to try and slow the spread of the virus currently and maintain kind of social distancing and in small groups as much as we can. Yeah, and the other thing is, and this is a little bit different. Certainly, if you come and do a summer clerkship here in Christchurch, we'll generally align you with 2 teams. If you're fortunate enough, or you want to head back to your hometown and wanted to do we're more interested in, say, the Queenstown, Wellington, or Auckland offices, because they're slightly smaller offices. There's not as much structure. You're not quite aligned to a team, but you're aligned to a partner who's like your sponsor, and then you'll be working across multiple teams. But often it depends on what the teams have on. Once again, trying to get people real work, we want to make sure it's work that summer clerks can do. So, I know Lucy, who was up in Auckland this year, she spent a lot of time with the employment team because they kind of had really good work at her level, and so she did work with them. We certainly, make sure that you get the support that you need, and so we align you with a buddy, and that happens right from the start of the process. So once you get, well, not quite the start of the process, but once you get offered an interview, we'll align you with a buddy who is a junior solicitor who's been through our program before, and so can answer all your questions and kind of guide you through the process. And our general intent is that everyone who comes and joins us as a summer clerk gets a graduate role offer. It would be very rare that doesn't happen, and sometimes it might be more around the location or the practice area that we can offer than whether we have a role at all for someone. But I've also, really encourage you not to feel like you get locked into a practice area early on in your career. Sam Nelson, who's our commercial property partner down in Wellington, so he didn't start in that area. Andrew Shaw, who I mentioned earlier, didn't start in employment. So yeah, don't feel like your first offer and your first graduate role ends up being your final one. And I do know that Helena, I think she went to Victoria University, but anyway, she was in the corporate team, and she spent a year with us here in Christchurch, but really wanted to go home, and so we've moved her into the building and construction team up in Wellington to make sure that we could, get her in a more comfortable location for where she was going, and she's really enjoying it, I guess, looking at that new practice area and applying what she's learned from the corporate space in another sphere of law as well. Yeah, so yeah, apply now. It's pretty simple, right? We opened up for applications start of this week. They're open for the month of March. So there's not a massive rush, but yeah, certainly if you're thinking about this summer, then absolutely think about applying to Neave. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. Either you can apply through the Grad NZ website, and we have a page on there that you put your application in, or you can come directly to our website and to our careers page, and we have a specific area for grads and summer clerks. Off the back of this this presentation, if you have any more questions, please let us know. If have a look at those websites if you've got any questions. And then in terms of the applications, we've just got 3 things that we have as part of that process. So a covering letter, and what we're really looking for in a covering letter is that you understand the firm a little bit. You can talk to why Neave would be a great place for you, and also what you would be able to bring that would really complement what we're looking to achieve as a law firm. Your CV shows your experiences, and any work experiences is important, but also if you've had time volunteering or in leadership roles, that's also really important to us, because while we want people to be successful in their careers inside of the firm, we also really like to work with people who also have interests outside of work as well, and we support those. So your CV can be a little broader than just your experiences in law. And then, yep, it's important when you're getting a graduate job is what your transcript is. And your most up-to-date transcript will give you the best outcome. So if you haven't got an up-to-date one, think about getting one of those before you apply, and talk to the university about that. Of course, you can't get one for the papers you're doing this year, but certainly it'll be great to have an up-to-date transcript if you've done some summer courses included in that. And then, yeah, if you're fortunate enough to get through the application process, the next step for us is that we do a virtual interview with all of those candidates. And prior to that, we actually get you to do some psychometric assessments, and that's certainly nothing to be worried about. I mean, we use psychometric assessments as part of most of our, if not all of our recruitment currently. And so it's nothing to be worried about, and we can certainly talk through that process for you, but it does really help give us a full picture alongside your application around who you might be, what your strengths might be, and where might be things that we're interested in asking more questions about, because we do interview or video interview quite a number of people, and so so to make sure we get a full picture. So when we're looking at who might be best to join us, that's really helpful for us. And then we actually have the people that then get from the video interview stage through to the formal interview stage. They actually get a chance to come to the office and meet with people, and so we have a function the night before the interviews. You meet your buddy, you get shown around the office, you get a chance to meet the people that will be interviewing the next day, so you can kind of not be meeting them for the first time in that kind of formal setting. And if you need to travel, we'll cover that, and we'll put you up in accommodation for that period. And then the next day, then there's a 1 hour interview, which is I guess the key decision point for the firm around who will be being made an offer to come and join us for the summer. And then, as with any kind of employment role, there are some pre-employment checks that we need to do, and that's linked to our requirements based on the Anti-Money Laundering Act and other bits and pieces. But yeah, so there is a few kind of compliance steps that we also work through. In terms of the number of summer clerks we take, we had 8 this year. We're looking at least 8 again this summer, if not maybe a few more. But we'll be deciding that kind of closer to when we're making offers, because it's such a long way away. But yeah, I mean, in 2020, 2021, we had 6 summer clerks, so we took 2 more this last cycle, and so we'll be at least taking 8 in the coming summer, if not a few more. So I guess it's just a chance to displace some myths. So I kind of already talked to this a little bit already. You're not going to have your time photocopying and proofreading stuff, doing stuff that isn't real work. But there will be some of that, because it's just part of the job, and you never get away from that. I did my own printing today. It's kind of, it's part of the job, but certainly you won't be coming in here and scanning documents for 8 hours a day, or reshuffling files as part of your time with us. In terms of grades, right? We ask for a transcript. I mean, for Neave, and it's part of the reason we also do the psychometric testing is we want to make sure that people are well-rounded. And while academic excellence is managed by a transcript is important, it is certainly not the sole metric that we use to make decisions around. And we are very much looking for people that have really good people skills, have a really good potential for learning and growing, because we know the law does change, and the way that we work with it changes, and also there's other things in the workplace that are changing, so we need people that are looking to keep growing and developing. And the other thing we look at is do you have a really good work ethic? And not any one of those things is the main importance, but some of those things balance each other out. And so yes, what your grades are at university are important, but for Neave, they're certainly not the the important thing. And we don't look at just your grade point average. We if we see improvement over your academic transcript, that's tells us something about you, as well as that you've had good grades from the start, for instance. We certainly don't go back to look at school grades. It's not important to us. We don't see that as a key indicator whether you're going to be a good lawyer or not. We're more interested in what you got involved with in school and other activities outside of academic area as well. And yeah, so I've talked a little bit about this already as well. I know I want to be a litigator. So are you going to give me time with the litigation team? Well, we'll try and make that happen. I've got no idea what practice area I want to do, and I don't even know where to start. Well, we have people who come to us like that. And you might go, oh, I absolutely want to be a litigator, and then you come and spend, a period of time with the litigation team. You go, actually, maybe I'm not. You have a complete crisis. No, then but then you get a chance to get exposed to some other areas as well. And like I said, even if at the other end of your clerkship, and then at the end of your degree, you decide that you're going to try litigation and it doesn't work out, then there is room to move. And in terms of my wife's experiences, she started out as an employment lawyer. She spent time in the resource management and litigation space. She then got an in-house role in banking and finance, and is now working for an international or global engineering firm, doing big deals and construction, big construction projects and joint ventures. So that's not everyone's career. Some people pick something and stick with it, and that's good as well. But just don't feel like they're getting locked in too early, or in your summer clerkship that what you get exposed to is going to be where you're going to end up. A grad role that we made an offer to this week, the person didn't actually spend any time in that area, but spent time with our employment team and our corporate property team. But we ended up deciding that the best fit for her was actually in the litigation team. So she's just accepted an offer with us there. And yeah, you've heard it all from the non-lawyer in terms of the program. But yeah, if I just hand over to Lisa, just to talk a little bit about her career path, what happens after you graduate, and then what does kind of a typical day look like at Neave. I think that'd be really helpful. Lisa.
Hi everyone. Well, I was a summer clerk 3 or 4 summers ago now, probably. Really enjoyed my summer clerkship, got an offer in the corporate team, which was what I was looking for. And then worked part-time for the last year of my uni, which I was really lucky to do, and started full-time 2 years ago. Came in January and kind of the grad intake, and started profs by the end of January. Did that in 13 weeks to get it over with, because once you finish uni, all you want to do is get into the job rather than doing more study. But really lucky that I was paid full-time to only be at work 3 days a week. Spent 2 of those days doing profs, and 4 of those weeks I think I was on site full-time. So really lucky. And then took a few months to go through the admission process and was admitted by September. I think there was a few hold-ups with COVID and stuff like that. So Neave was really supportive in all of that financially, and just with letting me do what I needed to do to get through profs and the last few study steps before working full-time. And then here I am, really. Been working for a couple of years. Typical day in the corporate team.
I don't think there is a typical day in the corporate team.
No, there's not a typical day in the corporate team.
Yeah. For instance, the people capability manager runs up to your desk at about 10 o'clock and says, hey, do you want to come and talk to a bunch of law students?
Yes. So we're really lucky in the corporate team that we have a really big range of partners, and each partner has a different speciality. So I work with Joelle Grace, who specialises in mergers and acquisitions and transactional work, which I really love. So I'm really lucky to be working under her. But we also have Anna Ryan, who's competition law and intellectual property, like you said, Evelyn in banking and finance, Claire does financial markets, and Graham with technology. So massive range of work. I work mostly with Joelle, but also do a range of work for all the partners in all different areas, and keeps me learning every day, that's for sure. Typical day, arrive between 8 and 8:30 usually. Have a catch up with everyone. We're pretty social in our team. Usually have gone for a coffee by 9:30 at the latest. So head out for a coffee and then in that time sit down and figure out what's the most important things to be doing in the day. If I have a settlement of a transaction, that will generally be the goal of the day and will take up most of the day and everything else kind of has to wait. But if I don't have anything like that on the day, then any of my heavy work, like drafting and all those fun things that we do as solicitors, well, I actually enjoy in the mornings, and then spend the afternoon responding to emails, client meetings, on the phone with clients when they're asking a million questions about a piece of advice that we've given, that sort of stuff. Just helping out the partners wherever we need to, really. And then home, 5:30, usually, and start again tomorrow. But yeah, we're pretty lucky in the corporate team that we get lots of time speaking to clients, on the phone to clients. Not so much meeting with clients at the moment due to COVID. Yeah, but Zooming, lots of Zooming.
Yeah, no, it's tricky getting a project room at the moment to do these kind of things with everyone having to work more remotely than when we would previously.
Yes. But if you're thinking about corporate, one thing I would say I love about corporate the most is you get that real ongoing relationship with the client. You're helping with their day-to-day business matters as well as maybe buying or selling a business or any other sort of transactional work that pops up. So a bit biased. Litigation, you kind of deal with the client when they're in trouble and then they don't really need you when they're not in trouble anymore. But corporate, we have that ongoing relationship with the client all the time. If you're thinking about corporate, that would be my biggest positive, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, applications are open now. I think I saw a question there around how many applicants do we normally get. When we're working through the applications now, we get north of 450 applications. And like I said, we take about 8 grads. We took 8 grads last summer, and we'll take a similar number. So yeah, it is a big piece of work for us, and we take every step in terms of letting people know that they haven't progressed really seriously, because it is important. But in essence, yeah, we've got way more applications than we clearly have roles. And so being really thoughtful about your cover letter, making sure that, like I mentioned, that you've talked about why you think, what you like about Neave and how that really fits with what you want to do in your career and how you want to work is important. You know, we have to read 450 applications, and we want to do a really good job of that. So keep, as all lawyers should learn to be doing, write succinctly and to the point and in plain language. You know, so cover letters really only need to be a page, and CVs a couple of pages. You know, lots more won't make your application look better. And you know, while maybe Sophie and I are a little more generous with people's English skills, certainly the solicitors that help us with this process can be a bit punishing on spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. Once again, you know, the core skill of a solicitor is writing well, and they're casting the eye over the work like it is something that needs to go to a client, because that's what they're programmed to do. And so, yeah, you know, while we know that doesn't always indicate how much potential a person has, certainly when we're trying to make cuts and someone's you know, got grammatical errors in either their covering letter or their CV, it's hard to keep them moving forward when there's another person who's very similar in lots of ways, who's you know, got that attention to detail down. I did see another question early on around that some law firms have a bit of a reputation for being toxic and for overworking graduates. I mean, Neave, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is we absolutely believe that you can have a really good career here and you can be successful here. But we also really want people to have interests and passions outside of work, and that you can bring those to work. And so, you know, there's no perfect work-life balance for anyone. We think we've got the balance right most of the time. You know, when you've got a lot of work on, you get on and do the work. Certainly summer clerks, we shelter from that a little bit because it's not the expectations. And while we pay the living wage, we're kind of really conscious that that working more than your hours that you're paid for can quickly erode that below the minimum wage, and so we manage that, and we also manage that with our staff and make sure that our salary packages reflect that. And while there are peaks at the firm, we also make sure that when there are troughs and the work that people don't feel like they have to come in, and maybe they're not coming in at 8:30, maybe they're coming in at 8:30 or 9, or if they've got their transaction done and there's not a whole lot to do, that they cut away a bit early. So while there are things that we can still do to increase flexibility in the firm, we are flexible around that, and partners are pretty understanding in terms of those things. Ask someone who's come and done a summer clerkship here or got a graduate role around their experiences. That's the best thing to look at, and we have a day in the life of a number of our grads there, and I think you'll see that while there's always room to improve, that we've got it right most of the time.
Yeah, I find that unless things are pretty hectic, we're all got a pretty good work-life balance in the team.
Yeah.
And you have some pretty big horror stories of people being in the office till 11 or 12 o'clock every night, and I've been here a few years and I've never seen that, and our team all chips in to help each other out and get out of here. So yeah.
My previous role was in the DHB, which is a little bit different, right? But that's a 24/7 operation, and so it was really challenging for me to come through on the weekends. At Neave, you don't see people emailing people generally on the weekends unless it's really urgent. And I've also seen partners receive work on a Friday and say the client will get back to you on a Monday, and not say, oh yeah, we'll get back to you on Monday. But sometimes that's not always the case. But we do think about that, and we are a very people-centered firm. I got a question there around whether we take second years. So certainly if you're a second year, think about applying. We tend to focus on third years. Like I said, it's the biggest grad intake that we take. And so ideally people are in their third year. They've then got 1 year more study, then they join us the March after graduating. But that's still apply. It's good to go through the process. We do take second years sometimes, and we do take fourth years sometimes as well. But in terms of our kind of talent pipelining process, we generally prefer people who are in their third year, and then we'll be looking for a graduate role in a year's time, so that we can start them as a group, because that's really good for your graduates as opposed to people coming in at different times and phases. What else have we got? I guess it's about that CV or the covering letter. We want to see a bit of personality, and so we want to know something about you. And like I said, not just in terms of you and the law, but you as a person. I don't know if all law firms are looking at that, but that's certainly something that we're looking for. And then we're also looking to see that you understand Neave, and you can articulate why you think Neave would be the best place for your career. So while we have a limited number of roles, we really want to make sure that that we're taking the people that are going to be really successful at a firm, but it's the place that people want to be and can be successful in their firm as well. So understanding what we're about and making sure that there's a fit both ways is really key for us. I guess there's a question about academic achievements. Like I said, that is a factor, and certainly when we're getting from 450 people down to a long list for video interviews, that's the main time that we use academic achievement. We do balance that with our psychometric testing, which includes a cognitive test, so that we can make sure that we've got a balanced view of people and maybe some of the other skills or strengths that they bring outside of that. But like I said, as long as you provide an up-to-date transcript, it is what it is. Everyone's going to be providing it. It is a criteria that we look at, but certainly from the video interview stage on, it's less of a factor in decision making than those early stages, where we kind of have to have some clear criteria we're using to tell hundreds of people that they were unsuccessful, unfortunately. Would you take someone? Would you take who's I mean, yeah, in terms of if people in a 5th year of a degree or anything, yeah, absolutely put your application in. There's no kind of timeline. Like I said, our preference is people doing their 3rd year, but you know, we had a summer clerk come and join us up in Auckland after doing a first stint in Queensland, actually, because Auckland was in lockdown. But anyway, she came. Abby was from Otago, I think. But she ended up finishing her papers over the summer, and so she finished her summer clerkship with us mid-February and started a graduate role in March. You know, one of our other graduates, Jack Whittam, who came from UC, he was in his 4th year when he did his summer clerkship with us, but was looking at finishing his BCom as well. And so there was conversation with him around whether he would do another 6 months of study or start straight away. He decided to start straight away. But you know, there was a conversation. It wasn't like we were saying you have to start in March. There was certainly a conversation around what he wanted to achieve and whether he wanted to finish those studies or get into work. And I think he's really happy in his case that he's joined the firm and has put that BCom aside for now. He might revisit it later. Yeah. So I guess we have another question around, you know, what if I'm doing a double degree? When's my penultimate year? Yeah, I mean, that's the case for a number of people. You know, we do have, while we'd like people to start in March as a cohort, we have people also starting mid-year because they're finishing up their studies. And sometimes we have people starting a little bit later than that. And we just kind of work around that. I mean, the first thing that we want is we want the right people. We want the best people. We want great people. We want people who are good to be around. Want to be at Neave and work hard, but also enjoy playing hard as well. So that's the first criteria. And then come and have a summer clerkship with us, and then we'll work really hard with you based on your personal circumstances to get you a graduate offer. And like I said, you know, basically everyone gets a graduate offer, but it's more around whether it's the right time, team for the person, and that it works with us as well. But if there's flexibility on both sides, then that's kind of the way it rolls. We have got a few more minutes, so yeah, please jump on the chat if you have any more questions. Yeah, law papers. No, we don't. Like I said, yeah, we've had people who have done a whole bunch of law papers and then get here for a summer clerkship and go, oh, I really enjoyed this area of law. I didn't even study it. We also have people going, oh, you've made me a graduate offer in the corporate team, but I haven't signed up for any corporate papers. That's okay. It's the process that's more important to us. You'll get the deep subject matter expertise when you're in with the team. You know, while that's important. You know, while we look at kind of academic papers overall, we don't discount people or not offer them a role if they haven't studied in that area.
I would say what you study at uni and the real, like how it is in practice, is completely different as well.
Right. Yeah.
I did not enjoy the company law paper at all, or the contract law paper, and that's my job, and I love it. So don't discount anything just because it's a bit dry at uni. It's completely different in practice as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I've just seen a question go up around, is there a minimum grade average you need to be a serious contender? It's hard to put a number on it. You know, we see movement year to year around people's grades, so it's not, you know, 1 year could be this, 1 year could be that. Like I said, it is a factor, but we're also balancing that against, you know, how well people's cover letter is written and what they've talked about in terms of who they are and why they need to be a great place for them. And then also they've got that kind of broad experience that we see through their CV. So not just, you know, not just the work area, but, you know, if they're a volunteer, if they've taken on leadership responsibility outside of university or inside of university, if they're involved with committees or clubs. I mean, that kind of stuff, you know, has to balance academic achievement. So yeah, it is a factor, like I said, can't get away from it. Unfortunately, in some ways, you can't do much about it today because it is already what it is. I'd really encourage you to still apply. But if you feel like academics is not your strongest area, then make sure you really tell us what your areas of strength are and how they align to what we're going to be and achieve as a firm.
Having been through the summer clerk process myself, I understand it as very, very stressful, including the interviews and things. But the biggest piece of advice I would have is just to be relatable, because that's what clients want. They want someone that they can relate to when they're talking to them. And the firm, we're a social firm, and we're all friends outside of work. So we're just like someone that you can get along with, but also can work hard. It's fun.
All right, well, we might just hold it there because
great, thanks,
time's
Mark.
up. Yeah.
Is there somewhere, if students have more questions, is there somewhere they can direct those to?
Sure, if they email careers@laneneave.co.nz, you can also find our email address on our careers website. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to email them through to there.
Awesome, thanks, Sophie. Great, so thanks very much, team. Thanks for keeping to time. And thanks for that really comprehensive overview of Lane Neave. I think my favourite thing to hear about was the open plan, even with the partners, so them not sort of being in separate offices. That sounds really, really nice and sort of egalitarian. So that was just something that jumped out at me. So yeah, thanks for your time today, Mark, Lisa and Sophie. It's been really nice to meet you and hear about your experiences and what Lane Neave has got to offer. And thanks to the audience out there for tuning in and taking the opportunity to hear directly from these people from Lane Neave. So you'll be able to find the recording online early next week.
Hey.
Have a good afternoon, everyone, and a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.